"You're financially worthless," Dad announced at Sunday brunch. "Your mother and I built everything ourselves." Everyone nodded. I replied quietly, "Understood." Then I stopped the $3,400 monthly mortgage payment I'd been making for 4 years. The foreclosure notice arrived in 30 days. I'm Priya Malhotra, and for the first 23 years of my life, I believed my father when he said I wasn't good with money. The evidence seemed overwhelming. I forgot to pay my phone bill twice in college. I overdrafted my checking account buying textbooks sophomore year. I asked Dad to co-sign my first credit card because I had no credit history. "You see?" he'd say, shaking his head with that disappointed expression I'd known since childhood. "This is why you need guidance." What I didn't understand then, what took me years to piece together, was that Dad needed me to believe I was financially incompetent. Because if I ever developed confidence with money, I might start asking questions about his. My parents divorced when I was 7. Mom moved back to Mumbai with her family, and I stayed with Dad in Seattle because American schools would give me better opportunities. That's what he told everyone. The real reason was that Mom's family had money, and Dad knew they'd figure him out eventually. Dad was a procurement manager at a mid-sized aerospace company. Decent job, solid salary, nothing spectacular. But he'd grown up poor in New Jersey, the son of immigrants who worked themselves to exhaustion. And somewhere along the way he'd developed this desperate need to appear more successful than he was. The house in Bellevue. The country club membership. The luxury SUV he replaced every 3 years. The annual ski trips to Whistler. It all looked perfect from the outside. I was 23, fresh out of University of Washington with a finance degree and $67,000 in student loans, when I got my first real job. Junior analyst at Pacific Investment Partners, a regional wealth management firm downtown. Starting salary, $58,000. Not impressive by Seattle standards, but it felt like freedom. Dad was not enthusiastic. "Investment firms," he said over dinner the night I told him. "You know those places churn through entry-level people like meat grinders, right? You'll be cold calling retirees trying to get them to move their IRAs. It's actually portfolio analysis work," I said. "I'll be supporting the senior advisors with research and..." "Priya." He set down his fork. "I'm not trying to discourage you. I'm trying to protect you from disappointment. You're not. You've never been naturally good with numbers. Remember the checking account thing?" I remembered. I also remembered that he'd helped me open that account, and I'd later discovered he'd somehow gotten himself added as a joint owner. When I'd asked him about it, he'd said it was standard for students, and I'd believed him. "I'll figure it out," I said quietly. "Of course you will, sweetheart." He smiled. "And when you realize it's not the right fit, I have connections. My buddy Rick is looking for an HR assistant. Much more suited to your strengths. People skills." I started at Pacific the following Monday. My direct supervisor was Jennifer Chin, a 42-year-old managing director who'd built a $340 million book of business over 15 years. She was brilliant, exacting, and had zero patience for incompetence. She also saw something in me that I didn't yet see in myself. "You have good instincts," she told me 3 months in after I'd flagged a potential issue with a client's municipal bond allocation. "Trust them more." I wanted to. But every time I started to feel confident, I'd hear Dad's voice. "You're not naturally good with numbers. You need guidance." The financial arrangement started so gradually I barely noticed it happening. 6 months into my job, Dad called me at work. "Hey sweetheart, weird question. My mortgage payment didn't go through this month. Some technical glitch with the bank. I've been on hold for an hour trying to sort it out." "That's frustrating," I said, half focused on the spreadsheet in front of me. "Could you spot me the payment? Just until I get this cleared up? I'll Venmo you back once they fix it." I hesitated. The payment was $3,400. I had maybe $4,200 in my checking account. "Dad, I don't know if I..." "Never mind." His voice went flat. "I shouldn't have asked. You're right, you're just starting out, you have loans. I'll figure it out. Might have to dip into my retirement fund, but..." The guilt was immediate and crushing. "Oh no, I can help. Let me transfer it." "Are you sure? I don't want to put you in a bind." "It's fine. Really." I sent the money that afternoon. He texted back, "You're a lifesaver. Love you." He paid me back 3 weeks later. I was relieved. It was just a glitch. The next month, another glitch. This time with his car payment. Could I cover it just until his bonus came through? Then his HOA fees got lost in the mail. Then the country club charged him twice by mistake and he needed to cover his credit card while they sorted it out. Every time he paid me back. Sometimes it took 3 weeks, sometimes 6, but it always came. And every time he was so grateful, so apologetic. I don't know what I'd do without you, Priya. You're so much more responsible than I was at your age. The praise felt good. Felt like maybe I wasn't financially worthless after all. Looking back now, I can see exactly what he was doing. He was normalizing it. Getting me used to the pattern. Crisis, rescue, gratitude, repayment. Building trust. Making it feel natural for him to need my help. By the time the repayments stopped coming, I was already caught. It happened 14 months into my job at Pacific. Dad called about his mortgage again. Another system error at the bank. Could I cover it this month? I sent the money. He didn't pay me back. When I asked about it 3 weeks later, he seemed confused. I paid you back last week. Check your account. I checked. Nothing. Dad, there's no transfer. Priya, I'm looking at my bank statement right now. I sent $3,400 to your account on the 15th. If you're not seeing it, that's your bank's problem, not mine. But there was something in his tone. A defensiveness I'd never heard before. Can you screenshot your statement? I asked. Long pause. Excuse me. Just screenshot the transaction where you sent it back. Then we can both call the banks and... Are you seriously calling me a liar right now? No, after everything I've done for you? Raised you alone, put you through college, supported your career even when I had concerns about it? And now you're accusing me of stealing from you. That's not what I'm... You know what, Priya? Forget it. Keep the money. Consider it repayment for the 23 years I invested in raising you. He hung up. I sat in my apartment, hands shaking, feeling like I'd just been punched in the stomach. Had I overreacted? Was I being ungrateful? I didn't bring it up again. But I also started keeping track. I opened a separate savings account and started logging every payment I made on his behalf. Just in case. The requests escalated. Not in frequency, he was too smart for that. But in amount and urgency. The property tax bill came and it's higher than I budgeted for. Can you help with half? My AC unit died and the replacement is $7,000. I'm between paychecks. My dental work isn't covered by insurance. It's $4,200. Meanwhile, I was working 80-hour weeks at Pacific, studying for my CFA Level 1 exam, and learning the business inside and out. Jennifer had started bringing me to client meetings. You have a gift for this, she told me. You make complex things understandable. People trust you. I passed my CFA Level 1 on the first try. Jennifer took me to dinner to celebrate. Over wine, she asked, "Where do you see yourself in 5 years?" Honestly, I'd love to be doing what you do. Managing my own book, working directly with clients. You could. He studied me. But something's holding you back. I see it in the way you second-guess yourself. Where does that come from? I almost told her. Almost explained about Dad, about the money, about the constant voice in my head saying I wasn't good enough. But instead I just said, imposter syndrome, I guess. Bullshit, Jennifer said bluntly. Imposter syndrome is when high achievers underestimate themselves. You're not underestimating. Someone taught you to doubt yourself. That's different. He was right, of course. But I wasn't ready to face it yet. By my 3rd year at Pacific, I was managing $85 million in client assets under Jennifer's supervision. I'd passed CFA Level 2. My salary had climbed to $112,000. I was being invited to conferences to speak on panels about millennial investors. And I was still living in a 1-bedroom apartment in Capitol Hill, driving a 2008 Honda Civic, and eating ramen 3 nights a week because I was sending my dad an average of $5,800 per month. I knew it was unsustainable. I knew something was deeply wrong. But every time I tried to address it, he'd get defensive or guilt me or suddenly be too busy to talk. And I was too tired, too overwhelmed to push harder. Then I met Yuki Tanaka at a client event. She was a forensic accountant with one of the Big 4 firms, specializing in financial fraud investigations. We ended up talking for 2 hours about estate planning discrepancies and she gave me her card. If you ever need someone to look at complex financials, she said, I'm your person. I kept that card in my wallet for 8 months. The breaking point came at my cousin Rahul's wedding in Vancouver. Our whole extended family was there. All the relatives I rarely saw, the ones who'd known me since childhood. Dad spent the entire weekend performing. Talking about our house in Bellevue, our investments, how well he'd positioned himself for retirement. Asking relatives for their investment advice like he was some financial sophisticate. At the Sunday brunch, my uncle Amit mentioned that his daughter Shreya was starting a job at Goldman Sachs. Dad immediately pivoted to me. Priya's doing well at her little investment firm. Entry-level work, but she's learning. I'm a vice president now, I said quietly. I manage my own client relationships. Dad laughed. Well, vice president sounds impressive, but you know these firms hand out titles like candy. It's not like she's actually making real money or anything. Something in me cracked. I make $147,000 a year, I said. The table went quiet. Plus performance bonuses that brought my total comp last year to $198,000. Dad's smile froze. Priya, no one needs to hear about. And I've been paying your mortgage for 4 years. The words came out calm, clinical. Also your car payment, your HOA fees, your country club dues, and approximately $74,000 in various other expenses you've categorized as emergencies. My Aunt Mira's eyes went wide. Uncle Amit set down his coffee cup. That's extremely inappropriate, Dad said, his voice low and dangerous. We don't discuss private family finances. You're right, I said. We don't. You just take the money and tell everyone how financially worthless I am. You're financially worthless, he announced, loud enough that nearby tables turned to look. Your mother and I built everything ourselves. That house. I bought it before you were even born. That car. I earned it through decades of hard work. Every single thing I have, I built with my own hands, my own intelligence, my own sacrifice. You want to contribute a few $1,000s and act like you're funding my life? You're delusional. Everyone at the table was staring. My cousin Shreya looked mortified. Aunt Mira started to say something, but Dad cut her off. I raised you alone, he continued. Do you have any idea what that cost me? Your mother abandoned us, abandoned you, and I stayed. I worked full-time and came home and made dinner and helped with homework and drove you to soccer practice. I gave up dating, gave up my social life, gave up everything to make sure you had stability. And this is the thanks I get? Public humiliation because I occasionally ask for help during a temporary cash flow issue. My hands were shaking. I wanted to disappear. I wanted to apologize. I wanted to make this stop. Instead, I heard myself say, understood. I stood up, placed my napkin on the table and walked out. On the flight back to Seattle, I pulled out Yuki Tanaka's card. Yuki met me at a coffee shop in Pioneer Square on a Tuesday morning. I brought 4 years of bank statements, screenshots of Venmo transactions, and a spreadsheet I'd built tracking every payment. She looked through it for 20 minutes without speaking. Finally, Priya, has your father ever had access to your credit? What do you mean? Your social security number. Did he have it? I mean, yes, but only for like tax purposes when I was a dependent and that one time he co-signed. I need you to pull your credit report. Right now. All 3 bureaus. My stomach dropped. Why? Because this pattern, the escalating requests, the guilt tactics, the gaslighting about repayment, this isn't just financial dysfunction. This is strategic. And people who do this rarely stop at one method. I pulled my credit reports on my phone. Yuki walked me through reading them. There were 5 credit cards I'd never opened. Total balance, $73,000. There was a personal loan from a credit union I'd never heard of, $45,000. There was a car loan for a 2019 Audi Q5, $52,000. That's my dad's car, I whispered. Yuki's expression was grim. Priya, your father has been committing identity theft. This is a federal crime. Do you understand what I'm saying? The coffee shop was spinning. But he's my dad. He just needed help. He's been systematically exploiting you for years while simultaneously destroying your credit and making you believe you're financially incompetent. This isn't help. This is abuse. The word hit me like cold water. Abuse. What do I do? My voice sounded small, childlike. First, we document everything. Then we need to talk to a lawyer about your options. And Priya? She reached across the table and squeezed my hand. This is not your fault. None of this is your fault. I hired a lawyer. His name was Marcus Webb and he specialized in financial elder abuse. Though in this case the abuse was running in reverse. He reviewed everything Yuki had compiled and sat back in his chair. You have an exceptionally strong case for fraud and identity theft, he said. But I need to be clear about what pursuing this means. This will likely result in criminal charges against your father. Are you prepared for that? This was my dad. The person who taught me to ride a bike, who stayed up with me when I had nightmares, who drove me to school every morning for 12 years. But he was also the person who'd stolen $170,000 from me while calling me worthless. I need to try talking to him first, I said. Marcus looked skeptical. I strongly advise against that. People who commit this kind of fraud rarely respond well to confrontation. I know. But I need to try. I texted Dad. Can we meet? I need to talk to you about something important. He suggested Sunday brunch at his country club. Of course he did. The Bellevue Club was elegant in that understated Pacific Northwest way, all natural wood and floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the golf course. Dad was already seated when I arrived, wearing his usual Sunday uniform. Expensive polo shirt, tailored khakis, Tag Heuer watch that I now knew I'd probably paid for. Sweetheart. He stood to hug me. I let him, feeling nothing. I'm so glad you reached out. I've been worried about you since Vancouver. That was a stressful weekend for everyone. We ordered. He got the steak and eggs. I got coffee. Dad, I said once the waiter left. I need to ask you about some things and I need you to be honest with me. Of course. Always. Did you open credit cards in my name? His face didn't change. What are you talking about? I pulled my credit report. There are 5 cards I never applied for. Plus a personal loan and a car loan. All in my name. All at addresses I've never lived at. Priya, if someone's stolen your identity, you need to report that immediately. Have you called the banks? Dad. Please. Just tell me the truth. He leaned back and for just a second I saw something cross his face. Not guilt. Calculation. He was deciding how to play this. Okay, he said finally. Yes. I used your credit to help establish some accounts. But Priya, you have to understand I was trying to help you. Help me. Build your credit. You had nothing when you graduated. No history, no score. So yes, I opened some cards and made sure they got paid on time. It was going to be a gift. I was going to tell you once you had this amazing credit score that you didn't have to build yourself. There's $73,000 in balances on those cards. Temporary. I'm managing investments that will more than cover. And the car loan? For your Audi. That was a miscommunication with the dealer. I meant to use my own. Dad. Stop. My voice came out harder than I intended. I've been sending you money for 4 years. I have records of $217,000 in payments. That's not helping me build credit. That's fraud. The mask slipped. His face went cold. You know what your problem is, Priya? You've always been ungrateful. Your mother was the same way. I sacrificed everything, to give you opportunities, and the second you get a little success you forget where you came from. Where I came from. I felt something shift inside me, a gear clicking into place. I came from a father who taught me I was bad with money so I wouldn't notice he was stealing from me. I never stole anything. Everything I have I earned. That house. I bought it in 1999, years before you were. With what money, Dad? The question came out quiet. Deadly. You were making $67,000 a year in 1999. The house cost $480,000. I looked up the records. How did you afford that down payment? He stood up. I don't have to sit here and be interrogated by my own daughter. Sit down. I pulled a folder from my bag. Because we're not done. Something in my voice made him hesitate. He sat. I opened the folder. Inside was every bank statement, every credit card bill, every Venmo transaction. 4 years of documentation. Plus Yuki's forensic analysis. Plus Marcus's legal assessment. Here's what's going to happen, I said. You're going to stop making payments on that mortgage I've been funding. You're going to let the house go into foreclosure, which will happen in about 30 days given that you're already 2 months behind. His face went white. Priya, you can't just. I already stopped the automatic payments. I also canceled the transfers for your car, your HOA, your country club, and every other expense I've been covering. You'll destroy my credit. No, Dad. You destroyed your credit. And mine. But only one of us is going to recover from it. This is insane. You're having some kind of breakdown. Let me call Jennifer, she can. Jennifer knows. My lawyer knows. Yuki Tanaka, the forensic accountant who compiled this, knows. The only people who don't know yet are the police and the credit bureaus, but that changes the second you do anything other than what I'm about to tell you. I watched him realize that I wasn't the confused 23-year-old anymore. Wasn't the daughter who believed she was bad with numbers. Here's the deal, I continued. You're going to sign this settlement agreement. It states that you acknowledge the debt of $217,000 plus the $170,000 in fraudulent accounts. You're going to enter a payment plan to reimburse me over the next 15 years. It's structured to be manageable on your actual salary, $1,500 per month. I can't afford. You'll have to. Because the alternative is that I file police reports for identity theft and fraud. Marcus estimates you're looking at federal charges with a potential sentence of 3 to 7 years. And Yuki's analysis suggests there may be other victims. Should we look into that? He slumped in his chair. For the first time in my life, my father looked old. Small. Why are you doing this? He asked quietly. The question almost made me laugh. Because you stole from me for 4 years while calling me worthless. Because you committed crimes using my identity. Because you're my father and you were supposed to protect me and instead you exploited me. I never meant to hurt you. Yes, you did, Dad. You needed me to believe I was incompetent so I wouldn't question you. That's deliberate. That's calculated. That's worse than just stealing money. He signed the agreement. His hand was shaking. As I stood to leave, he said, Priya, please. I know I messed up, but you're all I have. I looked at him, really looked at him, and felt nothing but a distant, aching sadness. You're not all alone, Dad. You have your country club friends, your colleagues, all those people you've been performing for. Maybe one of them will spot you the mortgage payment. They're not real. You know that. You're the only person who actually... No. I cut him off. I'm not. Not anymore. I walked out of the Bellevue Club for the last time. The foreclosure went through 6 weeks later. Dad had to sell the Audi. He moved into a 1-bedroom apartment in Renton, close to his office. The country club membership lapsed. So did most of his friendships with people who'd only known him as the successful single father with the nice house. He made the first payment on the settlement plan. Then the second. Then he missed the third, and I got a call from Marcus asking if I wanted to pursue legal action. I thought about it for a long time. No, I told him. Just send a reminder. But if he misses 2 in a row, we move forward with the police reports. He hasn't missed 2 in a row yet. It's been 18 months. We don't speak. He sends the payments through an automated system. Sometimes he includes notes. Hope you're doing well. Love Fit. I don't respond. Uncle Amit calls me every few weeks. He apologized for not stepping in during the brunch in Vancouver, for not seeing what was happening. We all just assumed your father was doing well, he said. He talks such a good game. That's what he does, I told him. My mother reached out after she heard. We've started talking again, cautious, slow, both of us carrying old wounds but trying. She told me that part of why she left was Dad's spending, his need to appear successful even when they couldn't afford it. I thought if I took you away he'd realize he needed to change, she said. I didn't realize he'd just find other ways to fund it. I'm 31 now. Senior Vice President at Pacific Investment Partners. I manage $340 million in client assets. The same book Jennifer used to have before she was promoted to partner. I'm on track to make partner myself within 2 years. I bought a condo in Madison Park. Nothing extravagant, but it's mine. My credit score has recovered to 751. I'm dating someone, a software engineer named David who knows the whole story and somehow still thinks I'm not damaged goods. But I still have nightmares sometimes. Dreams where I'm back in my dad's house, searching for something I've lost, and he's telling me I'll never find it because I'm not smart enough to know where to look. I wake up and remind myself I found it. I found all of it. The lies, the theft, the systematic destruction of my self-worth disguised as parental concern. Jennifer told me recently that she knew something was wrong years ago. You had this brilliance, she said, but you'd apologize before sharing ideas, like you expected to be wrong. It took years for you to stop doing that. I still catch myself sometimes. Starting to apologize for taking up space, for asking for what I'm worth, for believing my own expertise. But I'm getting better. The hardest part isn't the money I lost. It's the trust. Not just in my father but in my own judgment. How do you believe in yourself when the person who was supposed to teach you how to navigate the world spent years convincing you that you couldn't? I'm working on it. Therapy helps. David helps. My work helps. Every client who trusts me with their financial future is evidence that I'm not worthless. Last month, I spoke on a panel about financial abuse at a women's wealth conference. Afterwards, 3 women came up to me in tears, saying they'd experienced something similar with parents or partners. That they'd thought they were alone. You're not alone, I told them. And it's not your fault. And you can recover from this. I meant it. I'm living proof. But recovery doesn't mean forgetting. It doesn't mean the wound disappears. It means you learn to carry it, to work around it, to build a life that acknowledges the damage without being defined by it. I still have my father's payment reminders in my email. Still have the spreadsheets documenting every theft. Still have the signed settlement agreement in a fire-safe box in my closet. I don't look at them often, but I know they're there. Sometimes people ask if I regret confronting him, if I wish I'd just walked away and cut contact quietly. I don't. Because the truth is, I didn't confront him for his benefit. I confronted him for mine. I needed to hear myself say it out loud. You stole from me. You lied to me. You hurt me deliberately. I needed to stop protecting him from consequences. I needed to prove to myself that I was worth protecting. And I was. I am. The foreclosure notice arrived exactly 30 days after I stopped the payments, just like I told him it would. He called me 17 times that day. I didn't answer. He left one voicemail. Priya, please. We can fix this. I just need you to understand my side. I'm your father. You can't just abandon me. But I didn't abandon him. I just stopped letting him abandon me.